Bonsoir tout le monde. Comme Eric avant moi, je vais parler en anglais parce que je suis plus à l'aise en parlant en anglais. Mais comme dans le cas d'Eric, vous pouvez aussi poser les questions en français. Je vais essayer de répondre en français. So I can promise you that in my presentation there will be no mathematical formulas or mechanical devices. So it will be a bit later. Um, okay, so my name is Daniil. I've already presented here, but for those who are here for the first time, um, I finished my PhD in economics in May last year, and now I'm working in a sense in the nascent blockchain space for a company which is based in Malta, which is developing decentralized games and application, which is called Incenti Studios. But here I'm planning to talk to you a bit about a project which for now, which I tentatively called Smart Space, and which for now only exists in a conceptual sense and only in my head and in some computer files. So it's called Smart Space, and so on very briefly, what is it? So Smart Space is an application which is supposed to run on a smart contract enabling blockchain like Ethereum, but maybe if some other blockchain wins out the competition in the future. So this application allows to register when someone enters a certain space and when someone exits from it, and it allows to debit the in-application wallet depending on how much time the person has spent within a certain space. So what is the motivation for it? So I bet all of you know what this place is, but this is just an example. It's a large space which I particularly love as someone who is attached to X into the region. So the San Victoire Regional Park, and think about how is it that the maintenance and all kinds of works which need to be performed to maintain, to observe, and whatever this area paid for, and how it is decided how it's going to be managed. So it's actually at the moment. I don't know exactly whether in France it is the regions. It's only the regional taxpayers who pay for regional parks. So it's everyone in France who in a sense contributes to the management of, let's say, Parc Saint Victoire, but still it's a bit weird, don't you think, that for example someone who even lives, let's say, in the same region, so in Nice, it's weird that person who might never visit Aix-en-Provence, for example, that this person is still going to pay for the maintenance of Saint Victoire, and at the same time those who actually use Saint Victoire very often, they have essentially no clear say or way to influence the way this space is managed. So of course the project which I described, this app, it has basically two components: a technical component and a sort of economic incentive component. So let's talk about technical components. So as I said, we want this application to be able to register when someone enters a space and register when the person exits from it. And of course, importantly, we want this process to be reliable. So we want people not to be able to cheat using the GPS, for example, not to, for example, create what is called in cryptocurrency community Sybil attack, meaning someone who wants to show as if he or she has, or people who don't exist actually entered this space and used it, and I'll explain why later. It will be clearer to gain, for example, governance tokens or whatever. So we want this to be kind of that there is no potential for fraud using GPS or whatever. So I'm not at all competent technically to judge, but I think if GPS cannot be relied upon for this kind of objective, then already interestingly, the blockchain community, for example, with Ethereum, they are in the process of developing alternatives to GPS, actually, which is very interesting subject in its own right. One of these alternatives is called Foam. So it's not to create a map of the world. This project is not going to rely on satellite information at all. They're going to rely on sort of radio antennas, basically, but I'm not going to go into details anyway. But I'm more going to talk about the economic incentives perspective here. So the important part here, if we want users in a way to pay for using spaces, is to incentivize them to have this app actually installed, for example, on their mobile phones, and to fill their wallets with, for example, Ethereum, whatever cryptocurrencies they're going to use for paying for this service, and also to not to cheat and whatever. So it won't work for this if we put a person every 100 meters, for example, around Saint Victoire to check whether people who enter have actually this app installed on the phone, because this will undermine the whole point of the thing. It will make transaction costs too high. So the types of incentives that I envisage to allow to entice people to use this app would be two. So one of them is kind of governance participation tokens, meaning that in proportion, for example, if someone goes to Saint Victor often, he or she receives more governance participation tokens in proportion. And then if there are certain questions about managing this space which are put on a vote, that person has more votes because that person has more tokens that he or she gained from using the space. And second potential type of incentives is tying services to the usage of an app. For example, I don't know, you could have an automatic distributors of whatever, of drinks or something, which can be only paid using this app, but whatever, it can be a lot of different things. So then you can still then you can still, of course, ask what's the point of it anyway, of this app. And I see three main reasons why it could be an interesting idea to consider. So first of all, as I already kind of hinted upon, this could make payments for using spaces like Saint Victoire, but many other spaces we can imagine that need maintenance and that are currently paid for centrally. It's fairer to make people who actually use the spaces pay for their maintenance rather than making just everyone pay for everything. Then secondly, we can in certain ways give people who use the spaces a say in how they are managed. For example, people using Saint Victoire can decide whether there should be, currently at Saint Victoire there are not even like places to throw garbage into, or there is not a single place where you can buy some food or drinks or whatever. So people who are using Saint Victoire could potentially vote on whether including this kind of services could be a good idea. And thirdly, this is something which is particularly dear to me as a libertarian, as someone who would prefer to minimize the state. This approach could potentially in the future demonstrate to people that even things that they could never have imagined that could be managed but without central authority, that in a sense actually you could manage them and you can use them and pay for them without using government or the commune of Aix-en-Provence or whatever. So this is kind of it. And finally, like a brief word about commercialization. So as it stands, this app is not necessarily a commercial, a for-profit product, but initially it could be tried on commercial on for-profit uses. For example, I don't know, I'm making stuff kind of out of my head, but for example, around X, as we know X, there are many, let's say, domains. For example, a lot of large private land plots that are usually not used, and for example, potentially this kind of approach could be piloted on large private spaces like big domains and something like this. So that's basically it. Thanks for your attention. Quelqu'un a des questions? Ouais.
Je suis pas sûr d'avoir compris si ton application donnait à ton application. Elle va d'abord être adoptée par un petit pourcentage de la population. Tu vas pas pouvoir l'imposer aux gens. Donc si 20% de la population l'utilise, par exemple, selon la victimisation victoire, sur les 20% de gens qui l'utilisent, déjà c'est énorme, tu sais qui va à la 5 victoire. Comment je peux déduire sur les 80% du reste qui y va et du coup qui tu vas faire payer? Du coup tu vas faire payer plus parmi les 20% des gens qui ont adopté l'application que tu sais qu'ils vont à la 5 victoire. C'est un peu...
Ouais. C'est intéressant comme question, ouais. C'est une question que je me suis pas exactement posée, donc peut-être, ouais. Genre le processus exact d'adoption potentielle, c'est vrai que c'est une question intéressante. Je suis pas même prêt exactement de répondre à cette question, mais c'est vrai que c'est peut-être la deuxième question clé peut-être pour ce genre d'application, après la question des incitations qui est liée en quelque sorte aussi. C'est ça, j'avoue. D'autres questions? Ouais.
Est-ce que c'est possible de... Parce que finalement, tu parles de contrôle de l'État, mais qui c'est qui fixe les prix? Parce que le législateur, il peut fixer les prix, mais c'est bizarre, non? Il faut qu'il y ait une autorité, un minimum capable de dire voilà, ça fait tout le temps.
Ouais, mais au moins déjà c'est vrai que au début au moins quelqu'un doit fixer les prix initiaux, ça c'est sûr. Mais après peut-être ce genre de questions pourrait être mise en vote ou quelque chose comme ça, donc peut-être ça. Mais déjà le fait que quand même la possibilité de quand même d'introduire le principe que les utilisateurs payent pour l'utilisation et leur donner une opportunité de participer dans la gestion dans un certain sens, c'est déjà, à mon avis, ce serait déjà un petit progrès quoi, par rapport à la situation existante.
C'est une idéologie différente. C'est une façon de penser qui est vraiment différente.
C'est ça.
So, I think so. Less than a question, more than an idea. But so I think that what could be a value in that app is when you offer this location-based payment. Rather, I think when you use it on public spaces, it's a bit difficult. But when you use it, for example, on private events like festivals or so, it can be really interesting because people will stop actually queuing somewhere to get entrance because they just go and they will be billed based on how long they are there. It's traceable. I think there could be a nice commercialization in this. Maybe you can just.
True, it's a cool idea actually. J'étais en train de penser de rajouter que c'est vrai que ce principe de faire les gens payer pour pour leur pour la durée de leur visite d'un certain espace, ça peut être utilisé autrement que j'ai proposé. Et peut-être c'est vrai que il y a des utilisations qui sont meilleures que j'ai envisagé. Donc c'est une très bonne idée. Peut-être même je peux même comment dire donner cette idée comme un cadeau, tu vois. Ce que j'ai déjà fait en quelque sorte, tu vois, j'ai proposé genre dans le subreddit. Vous connaissez ce que c'est subreddit de la communauté Ethereum. J'ai proposé genre je donne comme un cadeau. Est-ce que quelqu'un serait intéressé? Mais j'ai pas eu trop de. En fait, j'ai compris que généralement il faut que l'auteur de l'idée essaie de l'implémenter, quelque chose comme ça.